Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa McGinnis, and I'm an adjunct professor at Texas A&M San Antonio. And I'm excited to be with you for Research in Counseling. This is the first time that I have taught this class, but I'm really looking forward to working with you. Um, Before we get started with some introductions, I wanted to mention that I think sometimes we get a little nervous, some of us, when we talk about research. There's, a lot of terms and um, uh, vocabulary and things involved that are maybe not don't come as naturally to us as counselors. And so sometimes that can be a little bit daunting and a little bit scary. And I want you to know that I have been in those shoes. Obviously, I completed a dissertation. I was required to take the same classes that you're taking now. And I want you to know that it did not come easy to me. It was something that I had to work on in order to feel comfortable with doing research, and not necessarily even doing research, but understanding research. And that's really what I want you to recognize is that as practitioners, we do need to be conscientious and aware of the practices that we are using to be sure that they are legitimate. And really, the only way to do that is to be able to look at research. So, the idea of this class is to get you to a point where you feel comfortable being able to access research when you need it, and also to feel comfortable with being able to read the research once you access it. And that's really the main purpose and focus of this class. Um, I don't want you to feel like it won't be manageable, because it definitely will be manageable. We're going to break it down into pieces. I really like the textbook. I feel like it's very it's easy to read in the sense of a research textbook, and I don't feel like you should. I don't want you to be concerned or worried if research is not your thing, because we're gonna make it your thing. We're gonna make this class work. So, a couple things about me. This is my fourth year teaching at A&M San Antonio. I have done online and in-person classes. So I know the online format, and I'll be honest, it's not necessarily my favorite. However, I've had some experience at making it work. So we are going to work hard to make sure that you feel comfortable in this class, regardless of the fact that we're not meeting in person. You still have the same access to me. You will still have the same experience as if we were doing an in-person class. So I am currently working at a high school as an LPC. I'm not a school counselor, although I have done that job in the past as well. So I have some school counseling experience, but at this point, I'm working as an LPC in a high school. I've also worked in community service agencies, so I have some of that experience as well as some experience in private practice. So, coming to you from a wide berth of experiences. This is the first time I've taught this class before, and I want to put that out there. However, I've had really great mentorship for those who have already taught the class, Dr. Lenz being the main person who's been helping me out with making sure that the syllabus is correct, the assignments, that I understand what the expectations are. And so I feel really, really confident and comfortable that we're going to have a great experience. That being said, this video is going to be a little bit longer probably than our other videos. My plan is that I will be posting videos through YouTube on Mondays by 5:30. It will be brief. It'll be 15, 20 minutes, just going over some of the things in the chapter that I feel like are the most relevant that you need to be aware of. Then we will also have office hours by Zoom on Thursdays from 6 to 6:45. I'll always be available during that time. You just need to let me know if you want to click into office hours. If we need to converse between those times by phone, by email, I will be on campus on Thursday nights, so that could be a possibility also if we need to meet in person, but I will be available to you. The other thing that we will have to make sure that we feel comfortable with the assignments that we're doing each week is there's an online discussion board that I'll show you that you'll be able to access in order to ask questions for the good of the group. Because what I found is odds are if you have a question, somebody else probably has that question too. So being able to access those questions as a general class and me being able to answer those for everybody, I think will also be beneficial. So like I said, we are going to have lots of different ways to communicate, to stay in touch. And I wanted to make sure that you do feel supported, even though we're in the online format. So all that being said, I am going to go through the syllabus with you. I will not read it to you because that always drives me crazy when people read things to me. But I do want to make sure that you have a good understanding of what's in the syllabus and particularly the assignments. So my email is here. Again, the research, the Zoom link is here, which we would use for our office hours. And possibly if we were going to meet, we will have one synchronous meeting, which I'll talk about in just a moment. That'll be through Zoom. And then the YouTube channel is there. I'm going to be real honest. This is my first experience in using YouTube extensively for myself, for my own channel. So I'm working on that. If you have issues, please let me know because it probably is something that I'm not even aware is happening. So please let me know if there's any problems. This is my cell phone number because I don't have an office as an adjunct. So here's what I ask. If you need to contact me and it's something that needs to be taken care of in less than 24 hours. So you're working on an assignment and you're almost finished and you get to, the last page and you realize you don't understand a question or there's something that you're missing and you need to let me know, please feel free to text me or call. If it's something that is a general question, you can either put it in the discussion board or the other option would be to email. Either way, and I will always respond to your emails within 24 hours. So I don't mind you using my cell phone. Just make sure that it's something that, is really a necessity that needs to be taken care of. Required textbooks are here. The Young and Daniels, Shepherd's Young and Daniels book, which I think most of you have. And then, of course, we're going to be using APA format, so being aware of that. There's some required articles, but those are in Blackboard, and that will be addressed as they come up with our syllabus. So the description of the course, you will have a lit review that you will be turning in at the end of the course. That is something we're going to build up to with our other assignments. And then we also have another assignment that is to do a program evaluation report. Sorry, I had a moment there. I couldn't remember what it was called. But you will be actually evaluating a specific program. So here's something I want to mention. I'm going to stop sharing for just a sec. Something that I want to mention is that I really strive to make your learning relevant. Any class that I'm teaching, I really want it to be relevant. You are going to very soon be out in your own practice or working in an agency. And I want you to feel like the things that you're learning have purpose. So as we're deciding on our PICO question, we'll talk about that in a minute. As you're looking at what you want to do for your program evaluation, when you're looking at your lit review, be sure it's things that you're interested in. Because for one thing, we want it to be purposeful. But for another thing, you're going to be much more likely to feel comfortable and want to do it if it's something that actually is something of interest for you. So right off the bat, please start thinking about questions or specific programs, things of interest for you, populations that are going to be of interest for you. Okay. So let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. So the course description is here and the expected learning outcomes. I'm going to let you read over those. And then let's get down to the assignments. So our first assignment will be to write a PICO question. And you may be thinking, I don't know what a PICO question is. That's okay, because we're going to talk about it. But basically, PICO stands for Population Intervention Comparison and Outcome. And so really this gets down to you writing a question that is something that you want to learn about. That's really what this is. The main thing that we're probably going to have to work on here is making sure that your question is not too broad and your question is not too specific, because we want you to be able to find research to support whatever your question is, whatever your area of interest is. So a lot of the PICO research question will be going back and forth between you and I, to make sure that we have a good relevant question of interest for you that you're going to actually be able to find data to support. So that will be one of our class assignments. The assignment that is coming up for next week, and you may have already looked at this in the syllabus, is to do the city program training. I did change the instructions. They're at the end of the syllabus, and I tweaked those a bit to make them so that they would work, because they weren't in there correctly and you weren't able to access what you needed. So just be sure you read through those, and then you'll just, once you've completed that training with the 90%, you'll download that certificate. So that's pretty basic. The next thing in the syllabus is learning checks, and we could just call these quizzes if you want. These are just to make sure that you are keeping up. This is, I don't want to say it's a lot of reading, because I don't feel like it's a lot of reading, but it can be heavy. And you need to make sure that as we're going, you're getting what's in that chapter so that you can get what's in the next chapter. So that's what I'm going to say about this first chapter, the first reading. It's a lot of vocabulary and terminology, most of which you're probably familiar with to some extent, but just make sure you understand the terms. Not memorize, but understand. When you read variable, that you know what a variable is. In talking about different types of samples, be sure that you understand what those terms mean. So these learning checks are actually multiple choice. They're not very long. They're open book online, obviously. And they're really just to make sure that you're keeping up with your reading and that you're keeping up and understand as we're moving forward, as we're progressing. Okay. Research article summaries. You will be doing 10 different summaries of articles, and these will be based on or related to the PICO question that you are going to create. Why? Because these summaries are going to come together to create your lit review. So you'll have 4 quantitative, 4 qualitative, 1 program evaluation, and 1 mixed method study. And if you don't know what those are yet, that's okay, because that's what we're going to talk about. So don't worry. But we're going to do these 1 a week until we get to the end of our term. And by that time, you will have all of these already done. So your lit review is going to be really, really easy to put together. Okay. Some things to think about is that you will include the citation in APA format. If you haven't looked in Blackboard yet, we're going to look at that in a moment, but you'll see that this is very spelled out for you. The way that it is, the way that the assignment is written, it's not really that long. It's probably a 15 or 20 minute assignment, based on the way that that's written up. But it's going to allow you, as I said, to be ready for that last assignment, for that lit review. We'll talk about PICO and spider questions. You'll explain how it's relevant to your PICO question, your lit review. And these articles will need to be from counseling or psychology journals. And we are going to have our librarian come and speak with us the first couple of weeks of class. And she's going to give us more information about researching, using the library resources. So if that's not something that you're super comfortable with or you haven't done a whole lot of, she's going to give us a lot of information about how to use the library to make our research easier. You'll have a quarter and a midterm exam. Again, open book, multiple choice, a few short answers, but this will all be material that's covered in the text. So this shouldn't be something that is stressful. As I mentioned, you'll have a program evaluation report. So in searching your literature and looking at your articles, you will identify a program that it doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to the issue that you're interested in, but it should be somewhere in that parameter. So for example, if you have an interest in working with children who have experienced abuse, then the program that you're looking at will be somewhere in that parameters of working with children who have been involved in abuse. So you will look at what that program is. You'll be using this 6-paragraph format, and it spells out exactly what you need. And when we get closer to this, we'll talk about it some more. But this will be an APA formatted paper, and you will basically evaluate the program is really what it comes down to based on the research. Okay. All right. As I mentioned, the lit review, which this is your KPI. This will be your 10 articles. We're going to put them all together, and you're going to end up with your lit review. So step 1 is to select your topic, which again is our PICO question. We need to be sure, as I mentioned, that we can find the research that we need to support the question that we ask. It doesn't mean that if there's not a lot of research that you can't utilize that question. It just means we need to make sure that we have narrowed or broadened, depending on which way we need to go, to make sure that there's information available to you. So again, as we move forward, that will come together for us. Then we'll use the library databases, which, as I mentioned, that's what the information that we're going to get in a couple of weeks to do the lit reviews, or excuse me, the weekly lit reviews that you're going to be doing. As you can see, the articles that we're using are going to be exactly the same as what's in the syllabus. So as I mentioned, you're already going to have this done. So once we get to the lit review, really it's just a matter of putting it together. Okay. And again, we'll discuss all these things more. This is just an overview of what you're going to be doing. So it is a KPI indicator. So that will also go into Tavera as well. So here's how the breakdown works for your grading. 5% will be the PICO question. 5% will be just turning in your city training to say that you've completed that. Your article summaries will be 15%. Your learning checks are 15%. Your program eval is 15%. Lit review is 15%. And then your exams are both 15%. So this is how everything breaks down. So you have lots of opportunities. Nothing is weighted so much that I feel like it will just completely bring you down should you not do well on one piece. The learning checks, the program evaluation report, the lit review, I really feel like those should be things that that because they're just coming straight from the information that we're doing, and because we're going to go back and forth and we're going to make sure that you know what you need to have, I feel like you're going to be fine. You're going to do great. All right. I'm not going to go through all of the information here. Most of this you're aware of because this is all our things that are in all of our syllabi, excuse me. Do use the writing center if you feel like that's something that you need some help with. You will not really need it for your article summaries because, as I said, they're going to be brief. But when you get to your lit review, when you get to your program evaluation, that may be something that you want to utilize, and you're paying for it, so you might as well use it. The other issues that are mentioned here, what I want to say about that is, let me scoot by here. What I want to say about that is just communicate with me, talk to me. We're all people and we all have lives outside of school. So I understand that there may be things that, make assignments difficult or make things difficult for you to take care of. I'm always willing to try to help, to try to support as much as I can, as long as you communicate with me. The problems usually, or the problems that I have had in the past with classes or with student situations, is if I don't know what's going on, then I can't help. So if there's something that you're struggling with, please just reach out and let me know, and we will figure it out. That being said, the deadlines and the due dates are hard due dates unless there's something going on. If you have particular accommodations, please let me know. But those are hard deadlines. So I will take late work. I would rather you turn something in and have something of a grade than have nothing at all. Okay. However, if I take late work, there will be it will be penalized because it's not fair to, it's just not fair. And I think you guys can understand that. But please, rather than not turn anything in at all, if you're having a problem, let me know and we'll figure it out and we'll get it turned in, and then you have something to go with. Okay. All right. So back to the syllabus. Okay. So looking at the syllabus, I'm again not going to read it to you, but I do want to point out a couple of things. The first thing that's going to be due is that the city training. So just be sure that you've taken care of that by the 25th and gotten that turned in. And then you will have your first preparation check quiz on that day as well. The quizzes, I will post them at the beginning of the week. So honestly, you can work on them at any time during the week. I'll post them on Mondays at the same time that I post my my lecture, and then they will be due though on Thursdays at 11:59. So you will need to turn them in on our class night, even though we're not specifically in class. Okay, and those due dates will be on the quizzes, so that's, you don't have to necessarily remember that, but that's how we're going to work that through. The only class that I would like you to try to attend synchronously, and this is a try, is our librarian, Mrs. Grotwald, is going to do a presentation for us on the 1st, February 1st. It will be from 5:30 to 6:45, maybe not quite that long, but it will be through Zoom. And she and I would both really love if you were able to actually attend in person through Zoom, because then that way you can ask questions, you can get clarification from her. I think that would be great if you were able to do that. If you can't for some reason, because this class is listed as asynchronous, so I get it, it will be recorded and it will be posted. So it's not a have to, this would be really great if you could do this. We will also have a preparation check that night, and then we're going to get started on our PICO question here. So this will be part of getting started on that. And again, when we get to that, we'll talk about it some more. Your midterm or quarter term, I should say, exam comes up pretty quickly because again, we want to make sure that we're building and we have a good understanding of where we are through each week. So your quarter term exam is going to be on the 8th. Then we're going to move into talking more about quantitative data, and your article summaries will start being due. Each week, whatever we talk about in class, that's the article summary that will also be due that week. So again, when we get into, I'll show you in Blackboard. I think that will make a little more sense. You still will have some of those quizzes as well, just like I said, to make sure we're keeping up with our readings. And as we move forward, the midterms on the 28th, and then we'll get into our qualitative data as well, and the remainder of our article summaries. Please notice that toward the end, you have article summaries more that are due at the same time. So just kind of keep that in your brain. That's something that will happen towards the end of the course. And then your preparation checks, and then you will not have a final exam. Your lit review will be your final. Okay. Here's the instructions for accessing that city program. Again, I fixed it, so it should be easier. I know some people were having difficulty getting into it. If you've already taken the course and you're able to provide documentation of that, then you can definitely let me know and submit that into Blackboard. This is the program evaluation rubric, so you can look at what will be expected there. And I believe that is all. All right. So that is our syllabus. As far as the readings for this week, as I mentioned, I really want you to pay particular attention to the vocabulary and just be sure that you have an understanding of the terms. This is it's a beginning chapter, so it's very straightforward. But I just want you to start looking at yourself, as they mention in the text, as a scientist practitioner. I really like that term. The thing is that because of managed care, we really do need to be able to show that our interventions are research-based. And we need to be able to show that what we're doing with clients is working. And really the only way that we can do that is by understanding the research in order to be able to use appropriate interventions, but also understanding how to show that our interventions are successful. And that doesn't mean you're going to present a research paper to your managed care, but it does mean that you need to understand how to evaluate clients so that you can show that your program or the goals are appropriate for that client. So look at it in that context. There is purpose to the research. There is a reason that this class is part of your master's program, and you will use it. This isn't just something that you're doing and it's not going to be used later. Yes, your theory is important. Yes, knowing how to manage a group counseling situation is important. Yes, multicultural dynamics are important. All of those things, ethics, all of those things. Yes, you're going to use them every day, but you're going to use this too. And so if we can wrap our head around that, then it becomes more meaningful. And I think anytime something's more meaningful, we do better. All right. So the last thing I want to show you today is, I want to just go into Blackboard for a moment. And, oh, hold on. I lost it. There it is. Okay. I want to go into Blackboard for a moment and show you, this is kind of a one-stop shopping you got going on here. We tried to make this really easy for you to be able to access everything. The announcements, I will make announcements and I will send them directly to your email, but please make sure you check your email. Because there may be information that's coming in that way because we are only meeting in this format that you need to know. So just be sure to be checking your email for any announcements that we might have. The syllabus is there, and then we get to course content. So within the course content, I just want you to see that there's materials that I'll be using for the lecture. The first 3 book chapters are also here as well, in case for some reason you don't have the book yet, you haven't been able to access it. The first 3 chapters are there. I can't take credit for this, but Dr. Lenz has put chapter summaries in for each one of the chapters. I love this because it's like the Cliff Notes version. Yeah, I'm dating myself, I know. It's like the shortened version of what you need to know from the chapter. Please do not assume that you can look at the summary and not have to read the chapter. You have to read the chapter. You're going to need to know the information there. However, once you've read the chapter, go to the chapter summary. And as I said, as you're going through it, just be sure that you comprehend and understand the terminology, the information that's included in the summary. Because if you can do that, you're going to be fine moving forward. It'll also be helpful to you as you're taking your quizzes and as you're doing your 2 exams as well. There's some supplemental reading here also. So you'll be able to, that's where you'll access the articles. The assignment submission is here. So I'm going to click on that. And I just want to let you see developing a research question. But I wanted you to see what this looks like. So whoops, sorry, lost myself for a second there. So as you were doing your articles, your article summaries, like I mentioned, they will go along with whatever the chapter is that week. So whatever we're talking about that week, that's the article summary that you will be doing. So the first article summary, which I'm going to pull back up here. Okay, so the first article summary, it's the way that it's written is it's written in the form basically of a test. So this is what we're going to be talking about that week. Identify a research article published within a counseling journal that features survey research. Okay, doesn't sound too hard. We got this. And provide the following details, the reference, the PICO elements, and a 2 to 3 sentence synopsis. Okay, so when you get down here, APA reference, you'll put it there. Who were their participants? Okay, read the article, figure that out. What was the intervention or the variable of interest? So what are we looking at within that study? What were the comparisons? And there may not be a comparison, so we'll get to that, but just know that can happen sometimes. What was the outcome of interest or type of association that was studied? So what are they looking? What is the article looking at? What is the research looking at? 2 to 3 sentences describe how this article relates to your lit review activities, and you're done. So it's written in such a great simplified format. Whoops, sorry. It's written in such a great simplified format that this is going to be really quick and easy for you to be able to do. It will probably take longer to find the article than it will to actually write up the article summary. And like I said, we're going to have Mrs. Grotwald come and explain to us how to use the resources that we have in the library. And so even that part is not going to be difficult. So that being said, that's all I have for this week. Please reach out to me with any questions that you have. Be sure, as I mentioned, you read through the chapter, look at those terms. If there's something that you're struggling with, make sure that you either reach out in the discussion board or reach out directly, one or the other, so that as we go forward, you've got a good basis and a good understanding. If you have any questions between now and next week, you know what to do to get a hold of me. I'm really looking forward to the semester. I think it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to doing some research with you. So I hope everyone has a great day.